No, great. So now I'm going to hand over to Paul. And yeah, so please give him a big round of applause and welcome into the virtual workshop room.
Thank you, James. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Mears. Welcome to my spare bedroom, come office, come home gym in the south of England, in Surrey. I'm relishing the novelty factor this morning of wearing a shirt once again. Never thought I'd say that. So thanks first and foremost to James for the opportunity to speak to you all again. I think it's been obviously an incredibly tough task to pivot from a live event to a virtual one. So congratulations, James, on sort of the big effort to get this turned around. And I guess thank you to everyone on the call for the support and for joining us today. And hopefully it's a valuable session for you. Next thing I just wanted to kind of start with saying is obviously I hope everyone's keeping safe and well. These are obviously unprecedented times, and I think especially given the news last night, the gravity of the situation is it's pretty immense now. And it is at times like these I take a lot of pride from working at a company like Google. I think we obviously carry a great deal of responsibility given the prevalence and the reach of our platforms around the world. So you may have read a little bit online about what we've been doing. Our CEO Sundar published a note about some of the measures we've been taking. But I think just so that kind of everyone is aware, I wanted to flag up google.com/COVID-19. This is our main source of information, working with the respective authorities. There's a bunch of really interesting stuff on there. If you're a consumer, if you're a business, if you're looking for insights, please do check that out. Like I say, it's kind of our main source of information. Likewise on the marketing side of things, Google Trends continues to be this incredible barometer of consumer behavior and insights. I've been at Google for 10 years, and I was presenting this 10 years ago. So it's really this kind of ever-present, incredibly powerful tool, and it's really coming into its own again in a time like this. So I urge you, if you're a marketer and you're looking for trends in your category, this is a great way to kind of dig into those. So moving on to my talk today, I wanted to be mindful of the content I present, and the fact that there's obviously a huge spectrum, of app businesses on the call today. All have been affected by, the coronavirus sort of crisis in different ways, varying ways. So I wanted this to be kind of an accessible session, and that's why I pivoted the talk slightly. So really it's about long-term strategy. So what are the sort of projects or measures that you can work on today that will kind of set you up for sort of success in the future in sort of happier times. So I didn't want there to be a prerequisite of you have to be live or spending or at any particular sort of scale in your sort of app marketing campaigns. This is really about those kind of projects that you can do with just kind of human or developer sort of resources. I was listening to Alexandra from Skyscanner, who did her talk on Thursday, and she talked about how Skyscanner, they're investing in sort of business intelligence projects and also these sort of tech infrastructure projects. So I think that was sort of good validation as I was thinking about how to present this in terms of what people can really get focused on. So there's three things I'm going to talk about today. The first one, which was originally going to be the primary topic of this workshop when we were going to do it live, is thinking about your creative strategy. I appreciate it may be difficult to build or get creative assets produced at the moment, but I think there's a good sort of planning piece within there that is worth carrying out. The second one is our Google Analytics for Firebase SDK. Obviously, I appreciate that putting an SDK into an app is a big ask. So we're going to talk about why we're asking advertisers to do that, and what are the benefits from doing so. And then the third part will be, really mapping your app and your mobile site with this concept of app deep links. Now, some of you might be thinking, yes, done that. Some maybe on your sort of to-do list. Even then, there's certain sort of ways and schemas that we need to enable that to function properly on our platforms. And I'll talk about again the benefits of why we're asking you to do that. So obviously, hopefully that's kind of interesting content, and I'll take Q&A at the end if there's any questions. So first up, rethink your ad asset strategy. So for those that aren't familiar, App Campaigns is our app promotion product at Google. I guess it is kind of unique on a couple of accounts because it is predominantly a universal ad product at Google, which means that we place ads across all of our various media platforms. And we use machine learning to do so. So you aren't necessarily in control of where they appear. We just try to generate the best sort of business outcomes for you, whether that be installs or certain valuable in-app actions. So the first thing to talk about really within this, and when it pertains to creative strategy, is this concept of assets. So assets are the building blocks of creatives. As you can see in this little illustration here, you have your manually uploaded assets, which can be your lines of text, your images, your videos, even HTML5 sort of interactive assets. Then obviously we pull down all that sort of great content from your listings in the Play Store or the App Store, do that automatically. And then we kind of use machine learning to mesh all those component parts together into a creative, which is what you see on the right-hand side. And there are many, many permutations of those creatives. And we're constantly iterating and testing new templates to kind of drive improvements in click-through rate and conversion rate for you. So those assets form ads, and those ads are placed across all of our networks. Now, again, I think we're slightly unique in that we have a pretty diverse mixture of networks that make up, our App Campaigns product. We've got Google Search, we have Google Play, we have YouTube, we have mobile websites, and we have apps. And again, then within that, there are sub-networks within each one. So you could have like video ads on Play. You could have interstitial and rewarded ads on our app network. You could have native ads on YouTube. So it goes, quite deep again in terms of the assets or the ads that appear on these various formats, and that's why we kind of need lots and lots of iterations of your ad assets to make sure that we can find the best performing sort of combinations of those. So the first big thing I want to talk about today is ad groups. It's a relatively new feature in our App Campaigns product. And again, I think it's probably not hugely adopted yet, certainly outside of the gaming space anyway. And, really, again, we come from a world where you have a specific creative that you develop that talks to a specific audience. You take that creative and you serve it to that audience. And in App Campaigns, that's not quite the same way, because you can't target discrete subsets of audience. That is all taken care of by the machine learning. So in that respect, it's really important that you make sure that you cover all of the various different discrete audiences that you might have within your app, and all of the different sort of functionalities, I guess, of your app. So I think, again, this is quite a topical example, Headspace at the moment. Very, very simplified. You might have 3 ad groups. One's a generic one. One is about meditation for stress, and one is about meditation for sleep. I found the Headspace app incredibly useful for my 6-year-old, who loves the sleep stories on there. The mindset of me downloading that app for my daughter versus someone that's using it for kind of meditation, for fighting, work, stress and anxiety, is a much different need state and use case. So I would, the first thing I would do is I would sort of, if you're taking the time to rethink your creative strategy, is really sit there sort of, with some sort of, spider diagram or sort of like cloud map, and start to map out, right, what are the different use cases for my app, and what are the different functionalities that might appeal to the various different discrete user bases within it. The next step then is to make sure that I've maximized all of the various different iterations of asset types and orientations. The reason being is that you simply won't reach the entirety of our network if you don't do so. So what we ask is for you to have, as a baseline, all your text lines loaded up. Then to have up to 20 images per ad group, up to 20 videos, and up to 20 HTML5s. And to make sure that you have a broad mix of orientations between landscape, portrait, and square within those. That will help you to hit the majority of our network, as it were. So what does that look like? Per ad group, this is the optimal asset mix that we ask for. So from a text point of view, it's 5 headlines and it's 5 descriptions. It's 20 images, 20 HTML5s. That's more of an optional one, and it's more prevalent in gaming, where you see the playable format, less so in the kind of the non-gaming space. And then 20 videos, and videos are really critical. And again, this might be, I guess, perhaps old news to some advertisers. I think we have good adoption of this within the gaming space. Outside of the gaming space, we track adoption of this as a metric at the kind of the UK level. And I guess you'd probably be surprised it's kind of lower than you think. There is a lot of advertisers that just have text lines and perhaps nothing else, maybe 1 or 2 images. So really extending this out, and particularly into video, it is absolutely critical to drive the best performance. We've had advertisers that have expanded out from just text into video and images, and have increased their level of spend by multiples, whilst also improving their ROI from what they're seeing. So I can't sort of overstate the importance of making sure that you have all the correct assets available. So again, feel like whatever your sort of stage is at this point in time, if you're offline, if you're very much reduced spend, you're not spending at all, then really it's a great time to rethink, sort of as we come out of this, what might be your sort of revised creative strategy. Last thing really to mention on this is I appreciate it's difficult to get stuff produced at this point in time, but then also not to think about this as a sort of a one and done process. So I guess our most kind of sophisticated advertisers have new creative assets being uploaded week upon week upon week, which is quite a task to do so. So we do work with a bunch of our preferred partners. There's some of them on the left there that are built to. They work with lots of creators themselves, and can produce scaled creative assets for you on a sort of ongoing basis. So I guess the last piece of the strategy is to not think about it as, right, I've got all my assets uploaded and now I'm done. Is to really think about how you can constantly be topping those up as time goes on. So that's creative assets. Obviously, I can answer any questions with regards to that at the end. But like I say, a good time to think about how you can sort of reinvent that strategy across your Google Ads. The second one, and this is I guess more of a tech infrastructure project, is to integrate the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK. So I'm going to talk about. There's kind of a couple of words in there, Google Analytics and Firebase, which you may or may not be aware of separately. So I'm going to talk about the developments there. So I'm sure 99% of you, maybe even 100% of you have heard of Google Analytics. It's been, one of our core products for the last 10 years. A predominantly web-based web analytics solution that gives you insights on people that are visiting your site, and then also kind of those sort of analytics type plays in terms of what people are doing on your site as well, and obviously those events that can then be pumped out into your Google ad campaigns as well. So like I say, it's been predominantly a web-based tool up to now, but we really are now starting to pivot it to bring together both web and app, which has been a big ask for a number of years. Then we have Firebase, and Firebase is our kind of our app development platform, and there's three sort of component parts of Firebase. The first one is Firebase lets you develop your apps and all the back-end services that go with developing an app. The second one is it helps you to kind of run your app, to monitor it, to troubleshoot if it's crashing, or making sure that you have a really strong app experience. And the third piece is the kind of the analytics, where analytics really comes in. So it's engaging with users in your app and having better insights about how they use your app, and being able to build audiences and what have you as well. So they're the three component parts. That it's quite a comprehensive product, Firebase. It probably breaks down into sort of 20 or so sub products, or potentially features that are contained within it. What we're going to talk about today is the third part of this. So it's the analytics part of this. So we are calling that part Google Analytics for Firebase, because we're bringing the sort of the know-how of Google Analytics to the app world. So Google Analytics for Firebase. So this is I guess is a new way to power your Google Ads campaigns at its heart. So what we are asking you to do is to install the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK. So the Firebase SDK is quite a broad SDK, and it's sort of modular. It has component parts. So we're not asking for the full SDK, although that is obviously something that you are welcome to explore all of the functionality within it. What we are asking for is for you to put the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK into your app, and then to essentially move towards bidding on Firebase events instead of bidding on your app attribution partner events. So your apps flyer or your adjust or your tune events, your branch events. We are not asking you to change your app attribution partner. That is not what this is. We are asking you to do this for a number of reasons that I'll come on to in a minute, but I just want to be very clear about that from the get-go. What we are asking for is for you to start bidding on Firebase events, but still to measure to your app attribution partner. Okay, so the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK, it's quite small. So it's about 200K on Android, and it's about a meg on iOS. So it's not a sort of a heavy piece of code to put into the app. It's fairly easy to do so, although obviously I appreciate that different companies have different sort of processes and privacy reviews to go through to get that in. But that's what we're asking for, just the analytics piece, the GA piece of the Firebase SDK. So why are we asking you to do that? Three reasons, really. We think that there are significant privacy benefits to having a first-party SDK integration. So I'm going to talk about those. I've got a slide on each one individually. We also, our core marketing product app campaigns is machine learning based, and we think with a first-party integration, we will have a lot more and richer data with which to power our algorithm and drive better results. And the third one, and kind of as an offshoot of that, we actually then, with the improved performance, it allows us to unlock a different feature set as well. So starting from the beginning, by integrating the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK, we want to give users of your app more control and transparency over their data. So So by integrating this, your sort of consumers or customers in the app can then control their ads preferences and their personalization settings within their myactivity.google.com account and their ad settings account. So a much easier way for your customers to manage their own personal privacy settings, which we think is a really, really powerful and important tool to bring to the app space. Second reason is, as I said, machine learning needs data and it needs structured data. So kind of two main things here. When you install the Google Analytics or Firebase SDK, we collect a lot more signals straight out of the box, as it were, across the funnel. So that really enriches those kind of funnel metrics that we're seeing and getting passed to us, and it helps us to just to improve our algorithms. And then the second one really is, it's the taxonomies and the sort of semantics, I guess, of knowing what events are being sent to us, as opposed to just getting this kind of stream of kind of device IDs. When we have that first party integration, we don't just get the data as a stream. We kind of know what those events are as well. So that's really important, and so we think that we can drive better performance as a result of having that SDK in there. Now, the third piece of this is really unlocking new features. So, as I've said, we think that we can drive better performance by having this kind of more richer data. We think that we can improve upon the bidding options that we have currently. So obviously at the moment we do things like CPI bidding, cost per install bidding, and cost per action bidding. And we think that we can really bring sort of new bidding models to bear with this integration. Obviously, anyone that's come from the Google Analytics world will know that Google Analytics is a really powerful audience tool as well, and so that's obviously no different in the Google Analytics or Firebase world. So we think that there's a lot that we can do within the audience space to improve our ability to drive performance on app campaigns. And then the final one of these is, and this is kind of the holy grail that the Google Analytics and Firebase team are working towards, which is cross-platform insights. So this concept of unifying our app and web analytics together in one space. This is no small task, but it's something that I think the market's really been asking for some time now. So we're really excited to be sort of getting working on that. It's still early days. Some of the early use cases of this are just simply pathing. So being able to see how your users sort of come and go across both the app and your website as well. So just going back to this in terms of those kind of features. Unfortunately, I can't share the exact features because you need to be under NDA to do so. So if you have a Google account manager, if you know you're under NDA, then please get in contact with your account manager, and they can take you through sort of what those betas look like. So what do you need to do? What we're asking at the moment is the kind of the stuff on the left. So integrate the Google Analytics for Firebase SDK. Make sure that you start logging all of the events that matter to you, whether that be add to basket or purchase or kind of anything else that's of interest across the funnel. Then to link Google Analytics for Firebase to your Google Ads account and import those conversions. And then to stop there because there is a migration process which is fairly lengthy to do. So we only have limited capacity at the moment. So we ask you to pause there. But again, going back to what I said at the beginning, this kind of allows, I guess, you to sort of get ahead of the curve, really. It's a good project to sort of get done now so that you can then benefit sort of in the longer run once we're ready to sort of do the migration. So that is Google Analytics for Firebase. Last thing, obviously, we always get asked, how much does it cost? Google Analytics for Firebase is free. So no cost sort of accumulated there. Again, there's a lot of documentation online about that, a lot of developer tools, API libraries, etc. And again, if you have Google account managers, then please reach out. I'm sure I'll be happy to discuss this in more detail. So the third piece today is to map your app and your mobile site with app deep links. So I guess to give a bit of background here, obviously there's very well defined schemas for desktop and mobile web in terms of URLs and how that maps to certain pages on your website. And apps, I guess, has been slowish to adopt similar schemas. Now I'm sure there's some people sitting there, yeah, I'm fine, I've already got my app and my mobile site mapped, and that's great news. There are only some schemas that we accept though, so I will touch on that in a moment. But why are we asking for you to make sure that you've got app deep links enabled? Well, if you do invest with us outside of the app space on mobile web, and namely search, display, or shopping campaigns, we have this concept now of deep linking. So again, in this example, a user has searched on mobile web for a leather jacket here, and they have clicked on the ad, and because they have app links or deep links enabled, the system has then routed them through to the app because it knows that they have the app. And first and foremost, this results in a great user experience. And I think Google have always been about delivering great user experiences. It's what quality in the algorithm is all based around. So we're really behind this from a user experience point of view, but also in terms of sort of why you should care. We tend to see conversion rates that are kind of 2x what we would traditionally see versus sort of spinning someone out to a mobile website. So there's kind of uplifts there as well. As I say, it works across search, display, and shopping at the moment. And I think from a user experience point of view, really, really important one. So what are the standards that we accept? We only accept to run this the store standards. So that's app links on Android and universal links on iOS. So we don't accept branch links, kind of the equivalents from the various other deep linking providers, or any redirects or anything like that. So really it has to be the store standards, just because that's the kind of the best, safest, most sort of consistent way to approach it, as we have found. So again, that's when I urge you to look at if you have deep links already, what are the types of sort of deep links that you have enabled. Just going back to this, I think it really helps to bring this to life when you talk about what happens, for example, if you don't have a deep link. So in this example, if you don't have a deep link, what happens is obviously the customer gets sort of spun out to the mobile website, which obviously just isn't kind of a great user experience, and so it can be improved. The other interesting one that we see quite a lot of now is where the customer has actually, or you guys as the marketer have integrated deep links, and you push someone out to a deep link and they go into the app, and that's a great user experience. However, then what we find is if you don't have the necessary conversion tracking within your search or your shopping or your display account, perhaps you're running apps out of a different account, then actually you won't be kind of applying any credit for that conversion to that channel. So you're not capturing the full value of that paid channel. We call it the leaky bucket, sort of internally. So that's a really, I think, an important one, because also what that does is it sort of breaks down the smart bidding sort of algorithms. We've driven a click that we think has inherent value, but obviously we haven't sort of claimed or we haven't applied any credit to it. So it does kind of break down the, like I say, those smart bidding algorithms somewhat. So they're the kind of the two use cases that we're trying to solve for there. So really, sort of to go back on that, we're trying to improve the UX first and foremost. It's a better experience if someone has the app to send them to the app. We're trying to make sure we close the loop on all those missing conversions that might be happening, and then by doing so, hopefully you improve your ROI, because we are taking into account conversions that happen on both app and web, and not just on web. So that's that. Those were the 3 topics for today. Like I say, kind of quite meaty topics in some cases, and projects that we think that you can get involved with. There's lots of documentation online. Your Google account managers will be more than happy to speak to you about any of those. But that was all I had for today. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And are there any questions at all?
Hi, Paul. Well, back again. That was great. Thank you. So yeah, we do have a few questions. Thanks for those, guys. And so first one up, someone is asking, if we've paused campaigns during this period on app campaigns, when you go back live again, would you recommend turning on the same campaigns again or starting new ones? And these are campaigns based on in-app actions.
Yep, that is a very good question. The best practice documentation we have is that if a campaign has been offline for more than 2 weeks, to create a new one. Now, that's not to say that an old one wouldn't get going again, but I've had that question before. It's a good question, and strictly speaking, in our product documentation, yeah, it says if it's longer than 2 weeks, then to create a new one.
Ian Russell is asking, is YouTube TrueView still a separate format? Is that bundled into app campaigns now?
So TrueView in itself is a separate format, yes. However, if you have video assets within your app campaign, they will run on YouTube in the TrueView format. So the skippable video ad. That is a part of Google App Campaigns. It's just you can't, let's say, force the system to go into that inventory. So depending on your weight of spend and your genre of app, you may or may not serve some in there. So that's just the caveat there.
And there's a couple of questions on the MMP issue. People saying that they can't track ad groups yet. The new feature you mentioned.
Yes.
When's this coming? In fact, there's 3, and asset reporting is another thing people mentioned. Yes,
so asset and ad group reporting, yes, I accept that is a big question. It's a big ask, and we're pushing that back internally to our product teams. I'm aware it's not in the API or sort of any way of really extracting that at the moment. Is kind of frustrating. So I just ask, obviously, to bear with us for the time being. Obviously, I believe that's on the roadmap to come through in due course. If you are in the, again, if you have a Google Account Manager, there are sort of ways and means to help you with your account teams to get some of that information sort of manually. But yeah, it is something we are addressing at the moment. So so thank you for bearing with us.
Someone's asking how to analyze and compare ad assets across multiple ad groups, campaigns, geos.
Yes. So I think it's if you click into your campaigns, into your ad groups, and then you go into the ad asset view. Obviously, that's the primary way to start looking at those. If you're sending us, obviously, value as well, I always like to add in all the columns I can. And then you get a nice view across, how's my click-through rate, conversion rate, my CPA, and my ROAS. That at the moment is kind of the best way to start analyzing that. The thing to sort of be aware of is if you're running a CPA campaign, the system is going to serve the format that it thinks is the best way to achieve the CPA. the most cost-effective way to achieve the CPA. So that's why the ROAS might not necessarily be completely in line with the CPA. So that's just a sort of something to be aware of. But yeah, I think, obviously as well, we have our performance indicators as well, that kind of indicate whether that's what grouping of performance that is in, whether it's low, best, and you obviously have some clues with regards to what's the top serving. So it's really, I think it's just, it's checking it in, monitoring over time, looking for any degradation in performance from certain assets. And I'd say the most critical thing is be careful with what you change. I would say don't ever take out, unless it's really necessary, anything that's a best performance indicator, because otherwise that will spin the campaign back out into sort of a learning phase again. Best practice for me is on a weekly basis, so once a week, maybe on whatever day is convenient, but the same day each week, go into your account, look at what's the low performance indicator, or the lowest performing or non-serving assets, and then swap them out for new ones. And that then keeps it fresh and keeps a sort of a new feed of assets going in on a sort of a weekly basis.
Got it. Natalie D is asking, what do you do if your video creative are not getting any impressions?
It's a difficult one. I mean, it may be that, so the system's always going for the next cheapest or the next most sort of, most valuable user install. So it may be that it can find enough volume through the text assets or through the image assets to achieve its goal. It may be a case of ramping up the spend. It may just be a case of, perhaps your video assets aren't connecting. It may even then be, potentially the bid. Video inventory is, slightly more expensive than others. So I guess I would experiment with a combination of and it's difficult without knowing the exact example, but combinations of raising budget, raising bid, or swapping out creatives for new video assets. But really does it, yeah. Some genres will tend to go first into certain tranches of inventory ahead of others. So again, it really does depend on the genre of the app.
And someone is concerned that if they do start bidding on Firebase events, as you're suggesting, but they're still measuring using their MMP, won't that create a big disconnect in terms of their optimization?
That is a excellent question. So that is why we said to integrate the SDK and then pause there. So please do not try to self-migrate, I guess, to Firebase. When we do these migrations, what we do is we go into a 30-day holding period where we monitor the conversions coming through from Firebase, or GA for Firebase, and we monitor the conversions coming through from your AAP, and we don't flip that campaign until they are basically identical. So yes, if you try to do that yourself, and because there are different attribution methodologies, it probably won't be a great experience. So that is something we are going to be very hands-on with. So, so at the moment, we're asking, yes, just do the groundwork to get the SDK in, and then hold fire, and then you're ready for when we're ready to sort of do that migration en masse. So it's a really, really good question. And yeah.
Follow up to the integration of GA with Firebase. Martin Herdak's asking if they're using Firebase and GA separately right now, should they get rid of Google Analytics and start using the integrated version within Firebase?
No, they'll remain. So you'll still have Google Analytics, and then you'll have GA for Firebase. They are different interfaces at the moment, but once you have GA for Firebase sort of integrated, it will pull all of that rich data into Google Analytics. So yeah, I mean, don't throw out anything at this point in time. Yeah, we keep your analytics presence and all that good stuff that you've built in there for your web analytics, and then integrate Google Analytics for Firebase SDK, and then sort of hold fire there. But yeah, eventually that will suck all of your app analytics into that kind of full version of GA that will bridge the divide between web and app.
And in terms of the bidding options that Firebase is opening up, what sort of thing are you looking at there?
Well, I can't, like I say, I can't talk too much about it because it's in beta, and I've been told by our press team not to talk about betas, unfortunately. So I would say speak to your Google account manager, but you know, as perhaps as a clue, if you look at the bidding models that we have in our Google Ads system outside of the app space, I think you'll get a good clue as to what we're planning.
Someone's asking if you're still, this is a follow-up to the MMP measurement issue, why have you removed iOS tracking from MMPs?
Yes, this is obviously I think a hot topic at the moment. We wanted to bring the best inventory that we had to the market, and you know, some of that really strong inventory is, frankly, it's search inventory on iOS. You know, it's a very valuable users on iOS. You know, on $1,000 handsets, and it's search, and search, as we know, has incredible intent. And historically, we weren't bringing that to the fore through Safari. All we had was inventory that was coming through from the Google Search app. So it's one of those things where we wanted to bring you up at some of our best inventory, but obviously, you know, we couldn't pass the you know, sort of device IDs because of, you know, obviously ITP. So that was a sort of a trade-off between providing the best inventory versus obviously not having it in there but having no tracking. So so in the end, you know, we did bring it to market, and obviously that's why we provided the whitelist. It's a really tricky one. I fully appreciate it doesn't work for everyone. That's obviously why we've got the opt-out there. But yes, it was just a kind of a trade-off, I guess.
Got it. And when you're talking about down the line, this merger of the app and web analytics, it sounds like that's not really live yet. But someone's asking, will you be, you know, migrating everything to a new app property, or you be migrating your app stuff to an existing domain or property?
So yes, so this is available in beta right now, and you can read about it online and you know, find out some of the functionality. And again, speak to your analytics team if you're a paid up customer, for example, of GA360. Then obviously please do get in touch with the team there. We're actually bringing to bear a new property. It's the app plus web property. So that will be the way that will function. And obviously, you know, that's, like I say, it's still very early days, but it is already a thing, and it is available in beta, and you can start to play with the app web property already, and like I say, start to see some of those things like pathing, which is a really powerful tool.
And here's an easy one just to clear up. So it was when at launch, it was Universal App Campaigns, and it's now, is it App Campaigns or part of Google Ads or App Ads? It's App Campaigns now.
Yes, it is. So we lost the U. It was Universal
Right.
App Campaigns, and now it's just App Campaigns. I think that there could be a meme out of that potentially. But yes, we dropped the U. Google Ads is the platform that you use to buy app campaigns. You would have formerly known it as AdWords, but we rebuilt it, you know, sort of from the ground up about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think, and renamed it to Google Ads.
Great. Okay. A question for the product marketing guys there. So Carolina Bertini is asking, in terms of the first bit of the presentation, is the optimal asset mix at the ad group level or the campaign level?
So bare minimum would be one campaign containing one ad group that had all of the 20 images, 20 videos, 5 lines of text, 5 descriptions, and then optional 20 HTML5s. That would be, I would say, the bare minimum. And then ideal state would be, let's say, one campaign targeting, you know, the UK and Android, with that one generic campaign, which is, you know, your sort of almost like your fallback campaign. and then ad groups, you know, again, to the Headspace example, ad groups for meditation, ad group for, you know, for sleep stories or what have you. In the retail or in the food delivery space, for example, it might be ad groups around, you know, let's say Indian food, Chinese food, and Vietnamese food. In the fintech or banking space, it could quite easily be the different sort of use cases for your digital banking service. So like loans versus managing your savings pots versus kind of commission-free sort of like withdrawals in other countries. So again, like pivoting on the kind of the use cases of the app.
Got it. And someone's asking, if you've got a subscription app and you're optimizing for free trials, how do you understand the real long-term revenue of the creative assets when we can't access data post-event? Example, free trial conversion.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Obviously, you can get a view on it in the front end if you are sending us any sort of like value metrics back. But yes, I mean, I do appreciate that. Obviously, we don't have the granularity that we send back to AAP partners at asset level. So yes, I mean, I can't really say anything there. I think it's you know, something we're looking at. So yeah, we'll take it on board.
Watch the space. David Anselm is asking, he's having trouble getting a Firebase deep link authorized by Google.
Yeah, difficult to say that one because there's like dynamic links within Firebase, but then there's I'm not sure the concept of Firebase deep links. Obviously, it's set at the store level, so it's kind of like it's like at the Android app link. So I can't really talk to that one, but I would say yeah.
Sounds like they're confused. So yeah, maybe take another look at how you've set it up. And David, the recording is going to be available afterwards. I'm not sure we'll be able to share the slides, but the recording at least will be available on the site. If someone's another deep link, if someone's uninstalled the app, does the deep link break, or does it just take you to the install?
Yes, so it falls back gracefully. So yeah, if there's some issue there, it falls back to the install.
Okay. Some Dobra is asking, will there be a solution for tracking of iOS search traffic anytime soon? I mean, for third-party analytics, like adjust an app's flyer.
Yeah.
I guess he means iOS Google search. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is sort of to the iOS Google search thing again. Yes. No. I mean, no. Unfortunately, there won't. And you know that's predominantly because we can't, from a privacy point of view. We, you know, an ITP. We literally cannot share that. What we're doing is at the moment we are modeling conversions and we are reporting those in the front end. And we are modeling those because obviously we do have some sources like the Google Search app where we can sort of deterministically work out the kind of the install and the value. But I mean, no, we can't literally piece together one to one. So that's the issue there. So no, there's no plans to report that.
And Bola is asking where cross-channel interaction of a user is currently lost between the app and the web when they hop. Will the Firebase Google Analytics SDK fix the leakage?
Yes, that is the intention of the whole app plus web piece.
Great. And Elena's asking, will Firebase, act as a complete substitute for other analytics tools like your Flurry or game analytics?
I can't really talk. I'm not familiar with those tools enough to know. What I would say is that Firebase is free, so there's no penalties, I guess, to giving it a go and getting what you can out of it. I think some of the audience stuff is really, really powerful in there because we've brought some of our sort of machine learning sort of capabilities, right into the front end of Firebase. So, for example, we will automatically do these auto machine learning lists of predicted churners, for example, which you can then, send messaging or notifications to sort of seamlessly. So there's some really, really nice features within there.
Got it. And in terms of raising a budget, is 20% at a time a good benchmark, or can you be more aggressive?
Yeah, 20% is the best practice recommendation. You can do bigger increments, but obviously just be aware that that's going to bring in more volatility to the campaign. So generally we say sort of 20%, and then it's going to take probably 100 conversions especially in an in-app action campaign. Probably going to take 100 conversions or so to settle down again. So use that as a barometer as well.
Great. And someone's saying that they tend to see Android apps do better on app campaigns than iOS. And is this due to any sort of bias, performance-wise, or optimization towards them?
Well, not biased as such, but just obviously we are the owner of Google Play and Android, so our data is better on Android. That's not to say that we aren't successful on iOS, but yeah, I mean obviously we have more data to power our algorithm on Android devices. But what I would say is we have had case studies, and this is not a guarantee, where if you obviously put the GA for Firebase SDK on iOS, that gives us more data, and we have seen improvements in our iOS performance through integrating the GA for Firebase SDK. So again, I think that one is food for thought as well. No guarantees, but some interesting use cases we've seen there.
Great. And someone was asking about one of the slides. So the best thing to do there, you'll get an email tomorrow with the recording, and you can then probably stop at that point and grab the slide. So we've taken almost 30 questions. So I think that's a decent amount. And thanks to Paul for coming on today. It's always good to get the big, platforms to come, people like Google. I know everyone, really appreciates it when you do. So yeah, I really want to say thanks to you for coming on and answering all the questions and give us an insight into what's ahead on Google. And yeah, so, and hopefully see you maybe at a future event, either in Berlin later this year in December, or hopefully next year in London in the real world, or another online event. So thanks a lot. Next
thanks,
up,
James.
We've got some, if you're interested in content discovery for apps, it's a kind of new channel. So we've got Outbrain just after 1, going to be talking about that. You can also ask some questions about that. And then later on, Nick Duddy is going to be doing his session on Python and building cohorts for that. So that's a real kind of technical deep dive for anyone who's interested in that. So we'll see you for more fun stuff this afternoon. Thanks again to Paul, and thanks for joining. See you all later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.